another episode of We Should Have Coffee. This is a space where we build each other up as kind strangers on the internet, as a community, as internet besties, and perhaps most importantly, as women supporting women over our love of coffee. My name is Steph, and I'm going to be your host for this episode. I have a travel blog where I share my adventures outside of my corporate working hours. I've recently added a wellness section to my blog as this is a year where I'm experimenting with the type of content that I like to write about and create. So if you love anything about travel, personal development, or self care, you'll see more of that on my blog and Instagram throughout this year. As always, I'm joined by my co host, Jay. Jay, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jay, and I am really, really passionate about jiu-jitsu, especially women's jiu-jitsu, to the point where I've made it my personality and I've made a brand out of it called Tigress Fightwear. So this is a women's only jiu-jitsu, MMA, Muay Thai, and overall grappling brand to empower women to step on the mats with confidence and to just embrace their femininity in this space.
I love that. Thank you so much, Jay. This episode is all about friendships.
Woo! That's why we're pink. Do
Oh,
you want to
so
get changed so
cute.
you can wear pink? We should have worn matching.
We
Matching.
should have. We should have. So, we often make friends throughout our many life stages from elementary school to high school, university, and our workplaces. And as we grow older, our friendships also change. Today, Jay and I talk a little bit about our friendships and how they have evolved as our lives have changed, how we maintain friendships, and how we handle the loss of friendships as well. And at the end of the episode, we will be doing some goal setting together on the topic of friendship. And as always, we end off the episode with a Spitfire question round, and it's my turn to ask Jay. So I thought, Jay, that maybe we could start the episode off with just talking about our own friendship. We've somehow hit it off and developed this friendship together without actually meeting each other in real life. And I actually had friends recently say to me that they were surprised when they listened to our first episode because they thought that you were my longtime best friend that just happens to be living in Australia right now.
I need to rewatch that. I remember you're so right. I remember we said we have really good chemistry. I remember we said that.
What's your POV on how we met?
Mm, I'm just like this. I know. I think I have really good intuition, and I know who reciprocates my personality well, and I gravitate towards those people. I'm because I'm so cheerful and like open, and I'm a little bit weird. I have a lot of self-awareness. At least I think I do, and I think I'm self-aware enough to know that I'm a very eccentric person, so I can catch on to how people perceive me and whether or not we'll get along. But I think I explained it to you before that even without speaking to each other, like voice to voice, like face to face
Mhm.
online, that we would hit it off because of, yeah, everything that I saw you create and post on Instagram. I actually would like to add on to that story and say that we had never actually had a proper conversation on Instagram, right?
Mhm.
And I think the fact that you agreed to us doing it made me realize more how right I was. So from my perspective, I took a risk. I was brave. I asked you. I asked you out, and you said yes. And here we are. What is it
Yeah.
now? 5 dates later.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I really love that. And I think I like ditto exactly what you're saying too, because I think for me, I felt your energy as well. I'm a big energy person, and somehow like I know it's like we're virtual, but I felt that as well through your photos, and you have a way of, I guess, delivering that energy. And I think you have a way of connecting with people that made me also like very drawn to you. And yeah, I think as I grow older, like I think when looking for friendships, I always ask myself, like, how do I feel when I'm with that person? Like, do they put me
Mm.
at ease? Like, can I feel like I'm being my true self around them? Do I feel like that we have sort of that like reciprocation of like interests for each other? Are they curious about me like I'm curious about you? So, and I think I felt that with you. So like starting the podcast, I think I was also in that headspace of like I want to keep trying new things and like push myself to do new things. And I'm kind of feeling like Jay is going to be like a really good fit for that. Like, I think we're going to really thrive together.
That's so cute. That is so cute. I honestly feel so. You know those crying emojis and those like emojis where there's the starry eyed
Yeah.
emoji? Like that's how I
Yeah.
always feel. Like that's my overused emoji because that's me. That's I really really feel like when I say stuff, I'm being genuine and I feel things really deeply. I'm just a very
Mm,
passionate kind of person. I think what it is that you get my sensitivity and that you know that both of us are proper but friendly,
mm,
if that makes sense, and
yeah.
passionate. Proper,
Yes.
friendly, and passionate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's almost this like unspoken connection. Cause yeah, like I think we want people to know like we didn't have a proper conversation, like even
No.
virtually before really starting the podcast. So,
Well, I was going to say we still have that episode that we recorded for the first time, and it was like it's not really worth listening to because that's why we didn't post it. But it's just us going through what we're gonna do with this podcast, like what it's gonna look like. To be honest, people might actually find it interesting. It's something that you could just put on in the
mhm.
background while you're working, and it's basically just two chicks just being like, "Who are you? What do we want out of this podcast?" Like, I don't want to waste your time. What are we doing with this?
Yes.
It's actually very it's actually a very good like piece of analytical data that you can digest, like dissect is what I'm trying to say, and
Hmm.
figure out how things went the way they were based on that first impression. But I also want to add in that when you see somebody doing something that you really like and aspire to, social media is so great that you can just go all the way back before they did that one thing. You can go all the way back and see their journey. Like, what were they doing before this amazing thing happened to them? So you can go back into that video and see if they're at this stage, how did they get there based on that video, and then see our journey.
And I think that's why I love the behind the scenes so much. And maybe that very first video is something just worth kind of posting, because it's literally us building in real time and figuring it out. That was our very first like video meeting ever. And I think two things out of that. I love the behind the scenes because I think that sometimes it captures even more of the work that you do, even more of the story, because like that's you literally building. I think a lot of the time, yeah, when you're posting on social media, people see the final results, right? Oh, this is the podcast they have together, but they don't see like all of the behind the scenes of like you and I, Jay, like figuring it out, like brainstorming topics, like we're just like all of that work that nobody will ever see except for like the finished product. So that's why I love documenting behind the scenes, because yeah, I think it tells even more of the story. The other thing is like when you and I had first kind of thought about starting the podcast, we had sort of almost set like a ground rule together where I think you said it, Jay, where you're like, okay, if it's not feeling good, like if one of us just isn't having fun, or if it's not like what we like expected it to be, then like let's just say something just to let each other know. So basically, if we're not having fun, then like we don't have to go through with this. So I think that maybe just also took the pressure off of like that expectation, and especially when you're meeting someone new for the first time and doing a huge project like this, because like working with others and knowing if your personalities are gonna vibe or are they gonna clash, like that's huge in big projects like this, right?
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Actually, I forgot about that. I'm doing all the right things. I'm like, wow, I did that.
Yeah, you did that. You're
Look at
like,
me go.
there was a ground rule.
Yeah, this is how you ask a girl out. Basically, you just say, hey, like, I want to do this thing. Look, it's only going to be 8 episodes. That's the premise of it. So
Mhm.
if you are having fun, I mean, like, you could drop
Mhm.
out anytime.
Yeah.
Actually, no, yeah, I do remember that. And I
Mhm.
think that's a great way to think about it, is that when you're proposing to people, as much as you want to give your time, you also have to wonder, what did they get out of it? Like, what is it and why is it that they want to do what you want to do? And that's what I really focused on, is that I tried to be in your shoes and think, how can this be as purposeful and as useful for you as much as it is for me?
I think that like leads to a good segue because like you and I have somehow, yeah, like hit it off. But like, I guess making new friends is something that I think at any stage it could like be different, right? Like, especially as adults, sometimes depending on schedules and that, making new friends can be a little bit challenging. And I guess like I would say, I'm in a phase in my life where I'm very open to making new friends right now. And I'm actually like, I guess, actively putting in the effort to make new friends. And the reason why is because I just recently moved to a new city. And a lot of my friendships I've left back in my home city. So I guess I'm in that place where right now where I am lacking a little bit of that face-to-face friendship time. Of course, I have my phone calls and like Zoom coffee chats with my friends, but kind of that face-to-face is yeah, a little bit uh, empty right now because I'm in a new city. So I guess one thing that I do really miss is just being able to like call up a friend spontaneously and be like, hey, do you want to go for a coffee, or do you want to go check out this new shop together? And yes, I guess if we're thinking about how do we make new friends, I guess, Jay, are you in a place where you're very open to making new friends, or you feel like you're in a good kind of place where you've kind of established like some good friendships?
Believe it or not, I actually find it really easy to make friends, but hard to maintain the friendship, because I've always been an only child. And so I'm quite independent in the ways that when I'm doing stuff, I like to do it independently. And so I don't always have to feel the need to be like, hey, do you want to come for coffee? Or hey, do you want to go shopping? Like, that actually doesn't cross my mind. For me, it's like I want to go get a coffee and I want to go shopping, and then I just go myself. Like, I don't make friendships unless we're doing something together that we both like. So either it's jiu-jitsu, or we're at work, or we're studying at uni and we might happen to like a certain activity and we go together. For you and myself, we like to make content and do photography. So that's why I was drawn to you and I wanted to learn more from you. But that's like, yeah, that's the only way I really make friendships. And there is like, it feels a sort of panic when you meet somebody and you don't know whether you're going to hit it off, or you don't know what they're really like. So there is a sort of element where you have to take a chance and you have to kind of put yourself out there. And the more genuine you are when you express yourself or you show up, the more genuinity that you'll receive.
When you're trying to make a new friendship, yeah, you kind of have to shoot your shot a little bit and ask them on a friend date, right? And if you get rejected, you get rejected.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
I'm also a firm believer that you're a reflection of your like friend group, and the people that you hang around with, they should be the people that you aspire to be,
Hmm.
and they should teach you more than what you could teach yourself as well. So I also gravitate towards people who are like high achievers, who have very strong drive and very strong passions, because I feel like they get me when I'm up at night doing my work, and then they're like, what are you doing? And I'm still doing my work, sort of thing. So yeah, and I feel like we get that from each other too. Like, I feel like you
Hmm.
understand me when I'm kind of in a state where, okay, I really want to get this thing done, and I really really like this. And you're like, yeah, I get that. That was you the other day, actually, when you were editing those videos, and this girl stayed up until 1 a.m. after spewing about having 8 hours to sleep and going to bed at 10 p.m.
It's true. It's true. I was just so
And I was like,
motivated.
what?
I was like, I've got to get this done for us.
I was like, have you been abducted by an alien? Who am I talking to? I was so surprised, but also so happy that you are like having so much joy in what we're doing.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I think when it comes to mutual like hobbies and mutual interests, like that helps. But then I agree with you. It's like, what do you look for in a friend? I think for me, like somebody who helps to bring out the best in you. Because if they're not, then I think you should really kind of think about like your friendship and your relationship. So a friend who's like supportive and like you can depend on them no matter what. Somebody who's like equally interested, and really just like has your best interests in mind. So I guess like how do you take that friendship to the next level? Um, because so you meet somebody new, whether it be at a class or uh, at a similar social circle. Maybe you're meeting your significant others, like friends and their partners, for example. Like, I guess, like, how do you cross that threshold between like an acquaintance and someone you see and like that deep friendship that I think like a lot of us like really uh, want, right? Like, we want that kind of deep level of friendship, not just sort of like that surface level of meetups.
That's a really, really hard question to answer because I find it really hard to make lifelong friends. I think I only have one now. And I feel like sometimes it's partly my fault where things kind of like die off because I find it really hard to keep in contact using social media. And that's my fault because I use social media for work and it's very hard. I don't really enjoy, like on my time off, I don't want to be on my phone because I'm turned on during that time. Like I'm in a state, I'm in flow. Whereas if I wanted to talk to somebody with friends and I want to just relax and hang out with friends, then I don't really want to involve any kind of messaging or like talking on social media. I hope that makes sense. So for me, I prefer to have friends who are face to face for me to feel like I'm being understood, which goes against our friendship now. So now I'm just like reassessing
Mm.
why our connection is deeper than sometimes some of my friends who I meet face to face. And I think it's just maturity level. At the end of the day, we connect through our maturity levels, and I feel like I'm a little bit older than some of my uni friends or even some of my colleagues at work. And so I'm at a stage where my priorities and where I'm at with my relationships, where I'm at with my finances and like my life goals, they're a bit more leaning towards the stability side now as opposed to the other things that you worry about when you're like in your mid 20s. So the only friend that I have where we've taken it, a lifelong friendship is my friend Kathleen, who I've known since I was in high school. And we don't chat often. Like we probably chat once every, let's say, 6 months. And in that once every 6 months, it'll be like such a life altering situation.
Hmm.
Maybe she needed help with something where she just needed advice and somehow we helped each other get through that together, and then we have a significant situation where it's life changing for one of us. Even now with my Tigers Fight Wear line, I've reached out to Kathleen because I know I could depend on her and she's there for me. But I probably wouldn't have messaged her last week to say, hey, what are you doing? It's more just
Mm.
like, hey, I've got this situation that I need help. And then she's like, okay, yeah, I'm there. So it's such a weird situation, right?
Yeah, that's a deep friendship. Like having that support, like you said, with you and your longtime friend, it's like you don't talk for months and months. Like I can think of a couple friends like that. You don't, because like you're busy and you don't talk for months and months. But when you do connect, it's like no time has been lost, and you can just feel in the gaps and just kind of update them on um, sort of what you've been up to, because I think history is also another maybe factor into those kinds of like long-term friendships. Not always history, but sometimes that can have like an impact on that friendship level, because you've built up so much experiences together that you don't have to kind of like re-explain like, oh, like my life story, because you already know there's sort of like shared bond already. I think on the topic of friendship, how about we go through a couple things that I think are maybe some like you must know about your best friend. Let's say we go out and we just want a dessert together. I need to know, like, what is your favorite dessert?
So my favorite dessert is anything with Nutella. And I wrote,
Oh,
sponsor us, please.
I love it.
Please sponsor us. I go through a 1 kilogram Nutella probably like in a few weeks, maybe even 1 week. Like, I
That's
love it.
insane.
I could have it on a smoothie, bread, pancakes. I recently bought these Roddy frozen breads from Costco, and they're like just thin, like pastry breads, and I cook it and then I slather Nutella on it, and it's so good.
Yeah. Okay, my go-to dessert is bubble tea.
Oh, bubble tea's
Mm-hmm.
not dessert. Bubble
It's
tea's a drink that you drink
dessert.
with your dessert.
You have
Or
dessert
bubble tea.
and bubble tea?
Yeah, of course. Look, if we were gonna go out for a dinner and dessert, we would probably go to like a sushi place, and then we get bubble tea with it. So we're eating sushi and bubble tea, and then we're gonna go to dessert after.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay, let's go do that.
You're like, wow, that sounds great.
Okay, then on the topic of bubble tea, I you already know mine because I said that
Okay.
I just like a regular just milk tea with boba in
Hmm.
it. What's your bubble tea order?
Like if I could have anything that I want. Now I'm gonna get bubble tea after this. You watch me. I'm gonna message you. Look at me with my bubble tea. Okay, ready?
Hmm.
Mine is. Can you read that?
Yeah.
A honeydew milk tea.
What? I don't
That's
think I've
mine.
ever had that.
I didn't write toppings, but also just like it with pearls. And I also really like just the original. That's my favorite. And I
Hmm.
used to like it like blended like an ice slushy, but not anymore.
I used to always get like an avocado.
I've never had one of those.
Oh, that's like one of my favorites. Yeah.
In the Philippines, that used to be like a dessert where we would just get an avocado and we would mash it up and put, I think it's milk and ice, and that's like a dessert that we would have. So I can imagine it
Yeah.
might be similar. Is it a milk tea, the avocado ones?
No, it's more like a slush. So I'm
Okay.
thinking it's like avocado with like condensed milk and ice all blended together.
No, I want a boba.
Yeah, so
Next time,
good.
next episode, let's bring boba.
Ooh, okay, yeah, let's do
No, the
it.
sound of us chewing, that would just drive listeners insane. So, for our second part of our conversation, what I really wanted to dive into is what makes friendships so hard to make and so hard to maintain. And I have to be honest with you, I don't know the answer. I'm not sure why it's so hard sometimes for me to make friends and what's blocking me from doing that. I don't know. What do you think?
You meet people through whatever it is, your hobbies, proximity, your jujitsu, or even meeting people through, again, mutual friends or your partner's friends. You see each other, but then, yeah, how do you take it to that next, like, deeper connection, I guess? In high school and in university, you're like stuck with those people in a way. Like you see them like day in and day out. I think about in my university days, I have a couple really great best friends from university, and like we struggled together, we studied together, we saw each other every single day. And so there's kind of that bond that you create through those, again, like shared experiences. But when you leave places like that and you're more solo and you're working on your own thing, I think that's where things kind of can break apart a little bit, because you don't really get to see that person day in and day out again. And I think it just takes that time maybe to develop those, like when it comes to like new friendships and like how to take it to the next level. Um, because for me, I think it's really about those experiences and really being intentional about it, putting in the time, the effort, which is all very, like, very hard things to do.
Your answer definitely helped me reflect on what was my, because I asked before, I wonder what was blocking me sometimes from making those deeper connections. And I think it's just that it's finding the respect to not let them down if you had organized a time to see each other. Last year for placement, I had a housemate and we lived with each other for 2 weeks and we had never met, but we hit it off really well and we became really close friends during those 2 weeks. And we saw each other at uni when we came back as well. We had a few classes together and we always promised that we would see each other back in the city that we were living in to catch up on like bubble tea dates and like checking out new restaurants, but it just like never happened. And there was a few times that she was ready to go and I wasn't because I was busy. And there were a few times where I was ready, but she wasn't because she was busy. And like you said, you have to be intentional. And you have to be intentional to the point that you have to ask yourself, if I let this person down, will they lose their trust if I don't rock up? And that's essentially what's happening. When you don't show up, then that person loses their trust in you. And they kind of think this is just a person that I have fun with, but it's not a person that I can lean on and kind of commit to.
I'm just wondering about the loss of friendships, and actually, I have a question for you, Jay, but I'll save it for the end.
Mhm.
Like, I guess losing friends of like through different changes in life, I feel like I don't think I've ever had like a major falling out with a friend where like there was necessarily like a major disagreement or conflict that had led to ending of a friendship. I would say most of my ending of friendships have mostly been due to either life changes, right? Like transitioning from high school to university, for example, you just kind of end up parting, going different directions in life. And so it's sort of, I don't want to say like naturally fades, but I don't know, I guess it just ends, not because there was a conflict that happened, but I guess you just lose connection maybe due to changes in interests, or again, you're just not doing the same things anymore. Or what's your take on like losing friendships?
It's actually a really great question because it makes me critically reflect on my past and the things that have happened. And I think it's honestly just that it's the lack of um for me, I think it's the lack of care of wanting it to continue if life has moved us so far away that like what's the point? Sometimes I just think that way. Like if you've moved to a different city, well, I'm really busy here. Is this actually going to benefit us if we keep maintaining the friendship? And I guess selfishly I thought probably not. And that's when I've stopped contact with my long distance friends who have moved to a different city. It's actually a lot of work to maintain friendships when you're long distance. Like you said, you have to be intentional with phone calls, with Zoom dates. And sometimes I feel like I'm being selfish by thinking that it's kind of not worth it. I guess to answer your question, when life changes between myself and my friends and they move away or maybe they'll have a significant other that they're like committed to and they spend most of their time, then I kind of respect it and just let it kind of fall out. Which is bad for me, but I just kind of just let it happen.
I think that's one of the things that I'm wondering about is like when is it time to sort of like let a friendship go? And I don't think I've really ever intentionally like thought about that because again, I think about like past losses of friendship, it's sort of just like happened and I don't think I really like reflected on that. It just kind of faded. Um Likely because both of us just didn't put in the effort to maintaining that friendship and life is just moving on in such a quick direction that I guess unfortunately just keep going
Mm.
without them. If there's a friend that you have that you've built such a history with, and it's kind of going the direction of growing apart, how do you know if you should keep trying to rekindle that fire, or
Yeah.
is there just a point where you say, I guess it's just time to let it go? I don't know.
Okay, I have a story for that. That's a great
Mm,
question. I had a close friend that I've known forever. We used to work together, and then life happens. We didn't have like a bad situation. It was just that we had stopped talking, and they found like a partner, so they were busy with that journey and I was busy with mine. And then I reached out to say like, hey, we should hang out after not speaking for a year. And she said yes. So we did hang out and it was lovely. Like it was like no time had passed. We had a really great catch up. Um, and it turned out life was going really well for them and life was going well for me and that we were both being really successful in our directions. And that was probably like a year ago, and we hadn't spoken since. And I think it was just like a nice closure to know that we're both going in a beautiful direction that's like regardless of a friendship that is thriving, and like, I was so happy for her. And maybe it was just time that we didn't need to be in our friendship anymore, that we had grown out of it and that she could live her own life in her own sort of way, and that I was doing the same for me. I think we had known each other for like 10 years. Like it was a really long time.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and I guess like some people could get really stuck on that. Like, wow, I knew this person for 10 years. And like, not that it's like a friendship breakup, but it's like because you have so much history together, it could be that it's hard to let go of that, all of that history and like experiences. But it sounds
Mm.
like you found a really sort of positive, like it just ended on a really good note. And I don't want to say
Yeah.
end because obviously like you guys could probably connect in the future as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You never know. I remember somebody from my Facebook was like saying how they hadn't spoken to this person, but because they so happened to be expecting a baby at the same time, they just reconnected. And through that experience, after not speaking for so long, they rekindled their friendship. And that's why you should always leave friendships on a good note, because you will never know when they might need you or you might need them. And I don't know, maybe in the future you're going to be like, hey Jay, I'm moving to Australia, and I'm like, I'm still here. So I'm glad we didn't end that on a bad note.
I love that. Yeah. And I think that like really nicely kind of like wraps up our episode. I feel like
Yeah.
there's lots to unpack about friendships. I guess it's just really tough sometimes. It's so interesting because yeah, friendships, it feels like it can come and go at any point in your life. And as we get older, we're probably going to have more new friends and changing of our old friends. It's just a really interesting dynamic for me. Like I'm really actually quite curious about it, like friendships, the
Mm.
topic of it.
I'm the type of person that would be so down if we stopped talking for a year and then we hadn't like connected at all, like maybe you stopped posting on Instagram or whatever. If you had reached out to me at the end of this year to be like, hey, are we still doing that podcasting? I'd be like, yeah, let's do it. Because I want to know what's happening with your life. I think it's that too. Like some people, I want to learn as much as I can from you, and I hope that you can learn so much from me too. And I want to take everything, all your point of view, your experiences, the way that you've lived in different cities and you've experienced different things. I want to absorb all of that from you, and it's through curiosity. And without that, if you had been somebody who um were completely opposite of that, then maybe I might not have been as drawn to you, because that's not what I'm interested in, or that's not what I'm curious about. So I think friendships really form so strongly when you feel like that person is somebody who you just want to absolutely dissect and get to know and learn from, and like what their point of view is. If we go here, like what are you going to do, and that sort of stuff.
I love that, Jay. I absolutely. And I think when I think about my friends, like they are people who I look up to and I am so inspired by them. Like I'm so proud of all my friends. Like I'm so proud of you. Like it's like there's that level of like support, right? And like love that
Mm.
we provide to each other. And so I think that when you can find that, yeah, those are the friends that you like want to hang on to.
Absolutely, yes. That's
Mhm.
those are the friends that if you say you're gonna hang out with them on brunch on a Sunday, you go to that. It doesn't matter because their time is precious just as much as your time is.
Yeah, yes, exactly. And that's probably how you can shift it. Again, going back to how do you go from an acquaintance to a deep level friendship? I think it's just again that like you're inspired by them, you want to be
Yes.
them, and yeah, you're just pushing each other. Mhm.
Yes. I think we answered it. We move past that superficial level to a deeper level when we can see somebody and we can say, "Hey, I am so curious about you. I love everything that you do. We should hang out. Like, let's talk about it." And then you commit and you actually go, and you want to get them to feel like you're so important to me. There's nowhere else I want to be than to than to listen to you say whatever it is on your mind. And
Mhm.
that's when you get that deep level friendship.
So this leads us really nicely into our goal setting segment of our friendship episode. So let's come up together with a goal about anything about friendships. And to the listeners out there, we also invite you guys to think about a friendship goal too. So, on the topic of friendship, I wrote my goal as sending my best friends some I'm thinking of you texts. I really, really love my friends, and I
Hi,
think that
friends.
hey friends,
Hi, friends.
um, thinking about you, and I'm really yeah the friends that I care about. I really want to sort of nurture those relationships and continue to help build them and have them be stronger because especially that they are long distance right now in this sort of like phase in my life. And so it's really important to me that those friendships continue because I care about them a lot. And I'm going to continue just putting in that effort on my own end to send some I'm thinking of you texts throughout the year.
And I'm sure if they're listening now, they would really, really appreciate it. There's nothing more committal than saying it out for the internet to keep forever. And they were like, Steph, remember when you said that? And you never did that. Hold her accountable, friends. Hold her accountable. So my goal is I want to commit to things that I've agreed
Mhm.
to. So
Mhm.
commit to plans that I've agreed to, because I am a grade A flaker. Like sometimes I will, it's bad, but sometimes I will just say, I'm not really feeling like I'm not really down to do that anymore. And just like flake. And I don't want to be like that person because I know how much that really like hurts the friendship when you don't rock up to the things that you've agreed to do. So I don't want to be that person anymore.
Mhm. We are ending off our episode with a quick fire for Jay. It's 5 questions for you, Jay. It's going to be one word or less, so it's got to be quick. Question number one. What is your favorite condiment?
Keepy mayo.
If we travel together, are you a hangout at the pool type of gal or are you a get up and go adventure?
We're getting up and going.
I love it. Me too. Do you like spicy food?
No. I
What?
hate it. Hate it. Don't want to touch it.
Oh no. I love spicy food. Like I love it to the point where like I want it to hurt me.
What?
Does that
That's
make sense?
sadistic. We should unpack that. Maybe.
Jay, are you? Because I actually don't know. Are you an introvert or an extrovert?
I would say that I'm an extroverted introvert.
Who would you love to see in concert?
Oh, that's a great question. I was just thinking about that the other day.
Mhm.
Look, I want to go to a Taylor Swift concert.
Oh, me
Like,
too.
I just want to be there. Like,
I
I
know. I
want to
keep like
experience
signing
it.
up for the pre-sales and I keep getting waitlisted and I'm so upset about it.
I just don't want all that stress. Like, I just wish
I
I could just
know.
buy my ticket. I'll
Mhm,
rock up. I'll enjoy the show, and then that's it. Like, I don't. Why is
mhm.
there so much fluff around it?
Yes, yes. Anybody listening to this, and if you have Taylor Swift tickets for two, I don't know, maybe send them our way, please.
I just want to experience it, you know?
Me too. I know. I think like this is for some reason like this is just one of those concerts where I feel like I don't know, I just don't want to regret not going and I just feel
Me
like my
too.
opportunity is weaning
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Jay, what is your enneagram type?
I'm an ENFP.
Ooh.
And sometimes it changes to
Mhm.
an INFJ, depending on my
Ah.
personality. So sometimes I'm introverted, sometimes I'm extroverted, and sometimes um, perspective and my judging changes as well.
Thank you so much, Jay, for playing. I feel like every time we do these Spitfire questions, or every time we have like a podcast recording, we just get to know each other more and more. And I think this topic of friendships was just so fitting for like our podcast.
Mm, absolutely.
Hmm.
And now I
Hmm.
think about it, I want to be ambitious and say maybe one of our future goals is to have a, a guest. Imagine if we had a guest.
Ooh, yes, yeah. I know Jay and I said in the beginning that this is going to be sort of like a short series. Like we were thinking, let's try for 8 episodes of this
Mm,
season. But I'm also like still very open. Like I don't ever want to close opportunities. And so I don't
mm,
know. You'll we'll see kind of like where this all takes us, you guys.
mm. It's like season one. Maybe next year we'll have a
Mhm.
season two.
Yeah, and maybe we'll have some special guests. So
Yeah.
I love
Who
it.
knows? Anyways, check us out on Instagram or YouTube or wherever you are because we're in a different country and that's really exciting because we're still at home right now
Yes,
upon this
yes,
recording.
absolutely.
So I'm excited to know what future Jay and Steph are doing.
Yeah, we will see you guys next time.